expect and what changes are going to be made to the EHR incentive program or the meaningful use, and also its combination into some of the other programs that are out there like PQRS and so on. This is a evolving topic with CMS, so they are going to be adding more stuff to this, but this is all based off of what their current proposal is, and so that's what we'll be presenting here for you. So let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so again, the topics that we're going to cover are the what they refer to as the quality payment, well, the old quality payment program. We're going to transition into the you're going to hear a lot of what's referred to as MIPS, or the merit-based incentive payment system. That's going to be our new term for the years going forward. We're going to talk briefly on its relationship to PQRS and meaningful use, which is what most individuals want to hear about, and then of course what steps you need to do for 2017 and on. Okay, so the quality, we're going to start with talking about the quality payment program. Medicare payment prior to the Macra, which is what they're transitioning into, was a fee-for-service payment system, of course, where clinicians were paid based on volume of service and not necessarily value, but it was based off of sustainable growth rate, or the SGR. Well, Macra, their new system, is going to replace that SGR with a more predictable payment method that incentivizes value as opposed to volume. Each year, the problem with this is each year that Congress was having to pass a temporary doc fixes to avert the cuts for the, SGR. If they did not implement these cuts, then there'd be a 21% cut in Medicare payments to clinicians. So this is supposed to transition away from, the Macra is supposed to transition away from those fixes that they have to do each year and give them a more stable way of paying out clinicians. So the quality payment program is going to repeal the sustainable growth rate, that SGR formula. Get that out of there. It's meant to streamline multiple quality reporting programs like the MU and PQRS and such into a new what they refer to as a merit-based incentive payment system, or the MIPS. It provides an incentive payments for participation in what they refer to as advanced alternative payment models as well, or APMs. So you're going to have two options. You're going to have to go with the MIPS or with the APMs. Now, most providers, even though there are the two different areas, there's the MIPS and the APM, most providers at the beginning will fall into the MIPS program, and therefore during today's presentations our primary focus will be on the overview of the MIPS program. Okay. What is MIPS? Well, MIPS is a new program. So it's brand new. It's going to start in 2017, and it streamlines 3 currently independent programs to work as one and to ease the clinical burden for the doctor. It's going to provide the PQ. It's going to combine the PQRS. It's going to combine the value-based payment modifiers, and it's going to combine the Medicare Electronic Health Records Incentive Program, or the EHR Incentive Program, which most of you know as meaningful use. So those 3 areas are going to now combined into one area, which they refer to as MIPS. It's also going to add a fourth component to promote ongoing improvement and innovation to clinical activities. The four areas, again, are going to be the quality, the resource use, the clinical practice improvement or activities, and then that fourth one, advancing care information. So we're going to take those three from the old systems, combine them into one four-part MIPS program. Now, who will participate in MIPS? Affected clinicians are going to be called MIPS eligible clinicians now. And that's what you're going to be looking for. If you're a MIPS eligible clinician, you will have to participate in it, and will participate in the MIPS program. The types of Medicare Part B eligible clinicians affected by MIPS may expand in future years as well too. So it's if you're not eligible this year, you could become eligible in a different year as well. So for year 1 and year 2, it's going to be physicians, PAs, nurse practitioners, clinical nurse specialists, and certified registered nurse anesthetist. So those are going to be, for the year 1 and 2, those are the people that it's going to include. After year 3 and on, that's when they'll start to include other specialties and providers in there as well too, such as dietitians, audiologists, and things like that. So for year 1 and 2, they're not going to be a MIPS eligible provider. Who will not participate in MIPS? There are 3 groups of clinicians who will not be subject to the MIPS. That's going to include first year of Medicare Part B participants. If you are below the low patient volume threshold that Medicare has stated, which would be charges less than or equal to $10,000, or if you provide care to less than 100 or fewer patients in 1 year, then you don't have to worry about, you're not going to be participating in the MIPS. Certain participants that are in the advanced payment, the APMs, okay, those, again, I said there's 2 different ones. Most people are going to fall under the MIPS, but if you are going to be doing the advanced alternative payment models, you don't have to, you'll bypass the MIPS and do the APMs instead. And then, of course, as a note on the bottom, MIPS does not apply to hospitals or facilities at this time, so that's not going to be relevant. So they're not part of the 3 groups, but I do want to make note that it's not related to hospitals or facilities. Now, as far as a brief visual timeline of what's going to be going on with MIPS, the performance periods are going to be the full year of 2017. So those familiar with meaningful use and PQRS, how you have the reporting periods, it's going to work the same way. You're going to have a reporting period, and it's going to start in 2017, so just here in a few months. And that's where you're going to gather all your data. You're going to basically be doing what they want you to be doing. And that's going to be what we used to refer to as the attestation period. It's going to be 1 full year. Then you'll report that information the same way that you did with the PQRS and its meaningful use, either at the beginning of the following year or towards the end of the year. You'll report that information, and then they'll analyze it, and then you'll get your penalty or incentive in 2019 off of the MIPS. These timelines, if you're familiar with meaningful use, these timelines should be no different than what you're already looking at. If you attest in 2015, if you report your information in 2015, you submit your attestation at the beginning of year 2016, and then you get your penalty the following year. The only difference in this is the payments and penalties are going to be more in line with themselves, as opposed to them just giving you the meaningful use money up front. So then they're going to continue, they're going to continue to analyze these here. So how much can MIPS incentives or penalties, or in this case we'll call it adjustments, be? Well, clinicians will receive a plus or minus or even a neutral adjustment up to the percentages listed here. So for the first year, for what we're reporting in 2017, in 2019 your adjustment meaning your penalty or your incentive, could be anywhere plus or minus 4%. And it could be anywhere within there. This is one of the major changes to the program from what meaningful use and from PQRS is. This is more of a, it's not set in stone as far as how much you're going to get. It's all incentive based. So you could do, if you want to just hit the bare minimums of what they want you to do, you can walk away completely neutral. No penalty, no reward. Look, I'm just going to do the bare bones minimum things I need to do. And you just, no harm, no foul, no plus, no minus. If you fall under their requirements for that year, then of course your penalties, they will start taking away 4% of your Medicare payments. If you go above what they want you to do, so again, you're not meeting that, you're not a D student, you're not a C student, you're getting those A's and B's, then based off of that, those percentages of the markers that you hit, you can get up to 4%. In 2020, up to 5%, 7, 9, and then it'll be evaluated as far as how much the adjustments are from 2019 all the way up until, from 2022 onward. Okay. So as it goes, again, you want, as a physician, your goal is going to try to be able to hit as much, is to be an overachiever. You want to get the A's, you don't want to settle for the B's and C's. But again, if each one requires a little bit more work and a little bit more reporting, and if you're just okay with being right there neutral, that's good. But we want to make sure that we get you out of the negatives. Now, eligible clinicians can participate as MIPS, just like meaningful use, as a individual or as a group, which a group is defined as by taxpayer identification number, would be assessed as a group practice across all 4 MIPS performance categories. So again, it's going to have 4 different parts to this MIPS program. So you can do it as a, you can attest as a, I'm going to say attest, but you can submit either as a group or as an individual, again, no different than our current program is right now. Now let's take a look at how they're going to weight these performance categories. So again, I'm always going to be talking about the 4 parts. This is one program split into 4 parts. Think about it like an SAT, how you have your verbal, your math, all that. It's kind of the same thing. You're going to have one big overall score, but then there's different parts to each one. And a single MIPS composite performance score, or what we're going to call the CPS, will factor in performance in 4 weighted performance categories on a 0 through 100 point scale. So quality, you can get 0 to 100 points in quality, and that will make up 50% of your total score. Your resource use, weighted from 1 to 100, will make up 10% of your total score. Clinical, advancing care, and so on, totaling your MIPS composite performance score. So this becomes very important. You want to know, this is probably one of the most important areas, you want to know where you're being weighted. Okay, so you want to know where to focus your activity. If you notice, a quality is the highest one. That is 50% of your total score. So if you're hitting 100% on resources, 100% on clinical, and 100% on advancing care, but you're not doing the quality, you're only going to be at 50%. Okay, so you want to make sure that you know which one is weighted on to your total score. So let's take a look at these items here. So first, we're going to go ahead and overview the quality performance category. And the quality performance category, again, this is the one that's weighted at 50%. So what it does is it's a selection of 6 different measures. Okay, 1 cross-cutting measure, 1 outcome measure, or another high priority measure if outcome is available. And you select from an individual measure or a specialty measure set, and the population measures automatically calculated. Now, year 1 weight is again 50%. and this emphasizes on outcome measurements. Now this is a reduction from what you guys are used to. So the current program that this replaces is the PQRS. Okay? But instead of having to do those 9 measures, you're going to have to do 6 measures. Okay, so for those of you doing PQRS currently, or those of you that are familiar with PQRS, this is awesome. This is pretty much the same thing that you're doing. You're just having to reduce from having to keep track of 9 different measures down to 6. Okay. For those of you that are not using PQRS, you will have to start. But you're going to only have to do 6. It's not that difficult to have set up in there. It's with something that our teams can assist you with if needed, but the fact that there's only going to be 6 measures, again, really good reduction there. The next one is the resource use performance category. So this one is, this replaces the value modifier item. So this is weighted at only 10%. It's not a very high one. And this is assessments under all available resource use measures as applicable to the clinician. Now CMS calculates this based off of claims. Okay, so this is all based off of what you're submitting to Medicare. So there's no reporting requirement for this. It's just basically what you're doing, what resources you're seeing, and what 40+ episodic measures to address the specialty concerns. So this one is not too drastic on there. Now the clinical practice improvement activity, or the performance category, this is a completely new category, and this is weighted at 15%. And the minimum selection of one CPIA activity from 90 proposed activities, so they're going to have a proposed 90 different activities that you can do, that you can get additional credit with more activities. So what this is saying is they're going to have 90 different things that you can choose from, and this is one of those great opportunities to get kind of extra credit for. So with the additional credit for more activities. Now, even though you can get over the 100 points for this, just still realize even if you hit 200 points, it's still only weighted at 15%. Okay, so you're never going to go above what that particular category is going to be. This is a full credit for patients that are in medical home, minimum half credit for APM participants. Again, those APMs, most people are going to be in the MIPS program. And then that goes to, oh, one more thing here. I apologize. Going back to the quality performance on here, this also includes for the PQRS individuals. Again, you're going to go down from 9 to 6 measures, but this is also going to include your meaningful use attestation as well too. So all this, the PQRS and the meaningful use are all going to be part of your quality performance, and which is why this one is weighted at 50% on here. So this is going to be your biggest one. So after that, we have the advancing care information performance category, and this scoring is based on key measures of patient engagement and information exchange. It is a flexible scoring for all measures to promote care coordination for better patient outcomes. And the key changes over the EHR incentive program. So it dropped the all or nothing threshold, this is what I'm happy about on here, dropping the all or nothing. So as some of you have seen with some of the meaningful use stuff, currently in meaningful use there's 9 different measures that you have to meet, plus the registries you have to sign up for, and if you had missed one of those, if you fail one of those measures, you're out. Okay, this because we're going off of an all or nothing, we're going away from that all or nothing, it's all percentages. So it's like, okay, you have some wiggle room. Oh, I didn't do the ERX, but I'm really good at everything else. So I can maybe get that up based off of what weight they put to each one. So this is a really good program for that. It helps you, gives you guys more flexibility as far as being able to report things for this. All you got to do is meet their minimum threshold and you can at least avoid a penalty. And then as you continue to do more stuff, that's where you're going to see that 4%, up to 4% for the first year improvement. It has removed the redundant measures to alleviate the reporting burden. So again, they're just kind of cutting out some of that stuff that doesn't make any sense anymore. It eliminated the clinical provider order entry and the clinical decision support objectives. So all that stuff that you guys are used to doing for the meaningful use, it's going to get rid of that. So the provider order entry and the clinical decision support, that's currently on your meaningful use, your measure number 3, it's getting rid of, and then measure number 2.1, which is your clinical decision support rules, they're getting rid of that. It reduces the number of required public health registries to which clinicians must report. So again, those are your those registries. It's going to reduce the number of that. And of course, year 1 for this is going to be weighted at 25%. So as a brief scoring, a brief breakdown, this little graphic here is pulled from the CMS website. I thought it was very informative, and this kind of helps summarize the MIPS programs in a pretty good way. Again, we have your quality, which clinicians choose the 6 measures to report to. You see the maximum possible points per category is 80 to 90, depending on the group size. And then, of course, of that 80 to 90 points, it's going to be 50% of the total score. The advancing care, again, you can have 100 points. That's 25% of the total score. Clinical practice improvement activities, 60. Okay, so you can kind of see how everything on there is broken down into the different areas. So this is where you're going to get your points from. And again, on some of these, even if you go over the 90 points on the quality, it's still only going to be 50% of your score. So you can have 200 here, but it's not going to carry over into the other categories. It's still only you're just going to max out at the 50%. So again, this was a really cool little graphic. This can be found when I provide you guys resources on CMS. This breaks it down fairly easy. Now, calculating the composite performance score, or that CPS for MIPS, the MIPS composite performance scoring method accounts for the weights of each performance category, exceptional performance factors, availability of applicability of measures for different categories of clinicians, group performances, and MIPS eligible clinicians. So it's the total score. So this is what you're striving to hit here. Now, submission for each one of these is going to be a little bit different. Okay, each one's going to be, you're going to have to submit the data for all 4 of these different categories. And the first one again was our quality. To submit the quality information, there's a few different ways. One, you can use registries, you can use the EHR, or you can do your administrative claims. And if you're doing it as a claim-based, then there's no submission required. For the resource use, that's at 10% one. That one is administrative claims only, so you don't really have to do anything with that one. They're going to get that information on there. For the advancing care information, that's going to go through either a registry or the attestation process. That's how you get them. That's how you send them the information. And the data submission for the CPIA, that's going to go through attestation or one of those registries. There are some claim-based reportings that will be available for that as well too. Here's a breakdown again. Visuals always tend to help. In the MIPS performance period, you can see again the performance period, just like the old meaningful use. Performance period is going to be in 2017. That's where you're going to have to start just gathering the data. Nothing's going to be submitted until the end of the year. So you start gathering all your data, doing the stuff that they're asking you to do in 2017. That way it affects your payment year of 2019. And hopefully our goal is to have it affected in a positive manner and avoid affecting it with the negative adjustments. All MIPS performance categories are going to be aligned in the same performance period, which is going to be a full 365 days. So it's not going to be that 90 days here, a full year here. It's all going to be combined together. Every one of these performance categories will be based off of the same full calendar year period. This goes into effect in first year 2017. It's a performance period, payment year 2019. Again, these time frames should be pretty common if you're familiar with MU. For the MIPS payment adjustments, a MIPS eligible clinician payment adjustment percentage is based off of the relationship between their composite performance score and the MIPS performance threshold. The composite performance score below the performance threshold will yield a negative payment. So basically, if you don't meet their score, you're going to get negatively affected. If you get above the performance threshold, it will yield a positive payment adjustment. Okay, so I mean it's pretty self-explanatory, just fancy words of saying, look, if you meet, you're going to be neutral. If you go above, you're going to get extra, and if you go below, they're going to take stuff away from you. The composite performance score of less than or equal to 25% of the threshold will yield a maximum negative adjustment of 4%. So for the first year, they can't take anything more than 4%, but you want to realize that though, just like anything the CMS does, those will change each year, so you don't want to. They'll continue to up the penalties each year. A CPS that falls at or above the threshold will have a payment adjustment of 0 to 12% based off of what year it is, and based off of the degree to which the CPS exceeds the threshold and the overall CPS distribution. In additional bonus, not to exceed 10% will be applied to payments to eligible clinicians with exceptional performance where CPS is equal to or greater than an additional performance threshold. So basically they're going to give you that extra credit area in there where if you really want to start hitting the ground running with all these measures, the higher CPS you have, you can actually get extra on there. So here's an example. Again, this was pulled from the CMS site as well too. This is demonstrating those potential adjustments on there. Their example is Dr. Joyce Smith, who received the 4% adjustment, so she did everything that she needed to do. She'd also receive up to a 12% in 2009 for exceptional performance. She could earn an additional adjustment factor up to 10%. So it could take her to 4 to 12 on there, and that's by her going above and beyond on there. The main takeaway points on this, the quality payment program changes the way that Medicare pays clinicians and offers a financial incentive for providing value of care. So basically it's based off of value. It's all value based now. It's not a meter, it's not a yes or no, it's all based off of how you do. Medicare Part B clinicians will participate in the MIPS unless they are first year of Part B or they participate through the APMs or if they have a low volume. Payment adjustments will start in 2019, just like anything else. Now, a couple of resources that are going to be available to you. CMS, the Quality Payment Program under CMS's website, great resource to use there. Also, they have some slides that are available on their end, and then they also have their overall overview page, which is at the bottom there. If you want to navigate to the CMS website, then you can view it there as well too. So let's go ahead and take a look. I have a couple of questions on here, so I'm gonna address some of the ones that I have. We will. Let's see. One question is related to the types of providers that are available for the program. So far, the ones that they have provided to me is the anybody that's listed as physician, a PA, a nurse practitioner, a clinician. From what I could see, the question is about DPMs. I do not directly see that on this, but I would assume, based off of my knowledge of that, I would prepare as if you were. I believe that should fall into the physicians category. If you need clarification on that, I would recommend that you contact CMS. I would recommend that you contact CMS and further clarify that, but if I was going to make the judgment call for the DPMs, I would say you guys would fall under year one and year one category as a physician on there. These can kind of get a little bit confusing as far as the different categories on here, so we had a question on there as far as what the difference between the PQRS and the meaningful use side. They are split up under the two different, the quality is for the taking place of the PQRS, and then the advancing care is part of the MU on there. I got a little bit mixed up on there, I apologize for that. But there are two different ones. One's weighted at 25% for the MU, the PQRS side is weighted at 50% on there. One other person in here also noted with the CQMs, they had a question on that. Those are going away. Okay, so there's part of the meaningful use attestation is going to be strictly the measures themselves. The CQM reporting is going to be replaced with the quality reporting, and that's going to be the PQRS measures. And the MU requirements are going to be part of the advancing care. The the PQRS is part of the quality, and no CQMs, just PQRS. I have a question that asks, have the measures been published by CMS and available under Metatab? This is all being proposed by CMS, so all the information that we're getting is directly from the CMS webpage. They will continue to adjust and publish everything on there, so I would say CMS would be your main resource on that. How will they report adjustments in 2019 for 2017 services? Well, they're not. The services that they're going to be adjusting are going to be for the payment year of 2019. So again, the question was, how will they report adjustments in 2019 for 2017 services? No, what they're going to do is you're having to follow their rules in 2017, and if you don't, then all your payments in 2019 will have the adjustment. So if your payments go down in the last 2 years, maybe you don't see that many patients anymore, then your benefit from the incentive is going to drop. But if you did a really good job in 2017, you got all the reporting down, you had great numbers, you're qualified for those extra credit type stuff, so now you get a really good bump, it would behoove your office to see a lot of Medicare patients in 2019, because then your payment adjustment is high in 2019. So it's based off of the stuff that's going on in 2019, just they're applying that percentage adjustment to whatever's done in 2019, not in 2017. 2017 is just the reporting. Chiropractors fall under year 3, I believe. Again, I would have to refer to, I would advise you to contact CMS for further clarifications, but my interpretation for chiropractors would fall into the same thing as the year 3+ individuals. Very good question. Will Meditab update IMS to help keep track of these categories? Absolutely. As soon as the final rulings are submitted and it goes to our development team, just like past areas of meaningful use, and with PQRS, our dashboards will be updated accordingly. Just realize that for audit purposes and for everything, we will still have the old stuff on there, and so don't get it confused. But yes, it'll have the new information on the dashboards on there, just like we've updated in the past. Will this recording be available on Client Connect? Yes, it will. Just like any other ones, the recordings will be available on the Client Connect, just like any other webinar. Also, again, I'll point you to the resources available from CMS, CMS's website. If you go to CMS and you search the Macra or the MIPS, they have great presentations on there as well too. Really good resource. Also, we're having another one of these on Friday, and don't forget, if you do need any assistance, our teams here at Meditab, reach out to your account managers or whoever you need to accordingly, and we will make sure that you get the information that you need, so you don't feel lost under there. Another question, it says they did not understand how someone can get 12% from 4%. What provider can do to get 3 times more the points? They haven't quite told you what the thresholds for those are, but the easiest way to understand it is, again, like extra credit. If they're telling you that you have to do, if they're telling you you have to meet 60 points and you are able to meet 120 points, they may provide you an extra credit point on that. Then on another measure, they may provide you an extra credit on that, but they haven't released the actual numbers that they're looking for. But the idea and the concept from going to 4% to 12 is basically answering every single question right. You want to do every single measure that you could possibly do to increase your chances of getting the 12, the 3 times multiplier on there. Questions. So the payments will be based on the fee schedule, and there will be adjustments on top of that. Yeah, it's all based off of what the adjustments are going to be based off of what they're already going to be paying you, right? So if they normally give you $60 and you have you qualify for the 4% adjustment, they're either going to take from that or give to it. It says PAs and NPs were not part of the incentive penalty program under MU program. Does it mean they will not have to perform, or will they subject to a penalty? And yes, they will have to. You will have to get those PAs and NPs qualified under the program now, correct? Question from somebody. So the DCs won't have to report for 2017 and 2018, according to what they have listed. Again, those individuals are going to be, they're not going to be prepared for their submissions, so they're not going to fall into the first year on there. will fall from year 3 forward. As far as there's another question that said that there's rumors that CMS may be delaying the Macra implementation. Again, all of that is all unconfirmed. We need to all be working off of the assumption that this is what's going to be happening. I don't see any signs of them delaying it. So everybody just be aware, don't work on the assumption that this may or may not be something that's sticking around. You want to assume that this is what you're going to need to be doing for 2017. If you prepare for this and they change it, that only works to your favor. Correct. You just better be prepared, just like everything else. Anybody that's familiar with meaningful use, you know that they make changes to this stuff constantly. And as long as you're prepared for it, you never want to work off the assumption of any changes. But from what I see, this looks like it's going to be pretty. It's going to be sticking around. Just see what we have here. Want to make sure that I answer everything that I can here. Question is IMS ready for showing the testing for submission 1 of the alternative for quality for the pass under the Macra as published by CMS last Friday. For that individual that asked that that question, I'll check on that for you, and I'll reach out to you. I have your information, so I'll reach out to you and let you know what the status of that is on there. I want to thank everybody for being part of today's session. Again, we're going to have another one on Friday. And then again, if you have any questions in the meantime, please reach out to your account managers or our support team, and we'll do our best to go ahead and get those questions answered for you. Thank you.